everyone, it's Melody here. Welcome to our Thursday Live. And today we are going to be talking about the mistakes that self-published authors can make and how to get it right with Dale L. Roberts. And before I I want to introduce him before he comes out. So Dale L. Roberts is a successful indie author and self-publishing coach who amassed a devoted following through his YouTube channel, Self-Publishing with Dale. If you have not headed over there, I suggest you go over. He has awesome content, super valuable, high quality content for you right there. In fact, he interviewed and learned from the thought leaders in the self-publishing industry, including Dave Chesson, Chris Fox, Kevin Tumlinson, and so many more. While Dale's greatest passion is in writing, he shares more about how to diversify an author brand and monetize other avenues beyond book publishing. His website was selected by FeedSpot as among the top 100 self-publishing blogs and one of the top 10 self-publishing YouTube channels in 2019. And I'm saying, if you haven't been there, you got to go check him out. Please welcome Dale L. Roberts. Hey, Dale, how are you today?
I love that intro. Can we just stop right there? Because I'm going to probably ruin it for everybody.
No, we got to figure out what the mistakes are. Mistakes you've made, mistakes clients have made, and like how to do it. Because there's, it's this vast universe, this self-publishing, right? You got to plan it and write it and publish it and promote it. And there's all these pieces and you're an author and you're just this one little person, right? So I can't wait to dig into this. But first, I have to ask you, how's your cat?
She's fantastic. She's actually...
Good. Yep. Is she around?
We've got our own desk with steps that we just bought recently, and she's sleeping on her desk right now.
I saw that on Facebook. You guys built steps for her. That is so cool. No,
yeah, I'm a sucker. I really am. We've had her for, gosh, let's see, we're going on, it's 2012. Oh my gosh. So she's getting a little up there in the years, but love me some Izzy. She's just our sunshine. I love her. She a cancer survivor. Not too many times I bring this up. She had 3 of her ribs removed because she had some malignant tumor that usually is only that happens in dogs. It happened to her. Like they were like, oh, there's this random cancer. It's not likely. And we just kind of got nervous about it. Ended up doing some, like a CAT scan of some sort, CAT scan on a cat. And then that's when they saw, they were like, we might want to go over and remove it. And sure enough, they went and they removed it. And they're like, yeah, it was a cancer. And we were like, wow. We dodged that bullet. But now, unfortunately, everybody thinks we starve our cat because she's missing those ribs and she's skinny as it is. So she looks really emaciated because the one side is just collapsed in.
You got to plump her up there, Dale. You got to plump her up.
Yeah. Get some Nike air pumps like the old shoes. We can just put it on her, put it on her tail.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about your books. Okay. You have published many books. How many books are you at this point in time?
Underneath the Dale L. Roberts brand name alone, it's over 50. Underneath my imprint, it's too many. It's too many. Generally speaking, I think some people get really large eyes, and please, folks, don't think this is going to be something you're going to be able to do on your own. I had a team that was able to build this out over the years, but I would say in excess, well, I've got 7 different languages. I've got ebooks, audiobooks, print paperbacks, hardcovers. So about 4,000 publications, probably.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome, and I love that you're doing them in other languages too. That's a bit of a dream of mine to like get books out in other languages as well, so to help more people. Right? That's super awesome. So, and you don't only write about writing. In fact, you didn't start out writing books thinking I'm going to become a publishing expert. How did you actually start?
I honestly never thought I would be in this position. I was working in the healthcare industry for about 20 years as an activities director, which means I was paid to play with senior citizens. It was an amazing job. I loved the job. But at the end of the day, I really missed my wife. I wanted to be around my wife more often. She's just my best friend. I wanted to be around my cat as well. And unfortunately, the job got in the way. And I've got slight OCD tendencies. I don't want to downplay what OCD is to some people, but I think to a certain degree, I do have an acute case of this because when I see something, I become very obsessed over it. So I had a challenge from my group coach. I had a wellness coach at my work. And she saw that I loved health and fitness and was like, you should write a book about it. Well, growing up as a kid, I wanted to grow up to be a writer. I went to college too for it, but I dropped out after I figured I didn't have the will to do it. I couldn't stand the criticism I was getting from my professors. And I said, screw this. I'm done. I'm not going to be a writer. And I gave up.
Yeah.
You fast forward, and I was in my late 30s, and I said, I'm going to write a book. I did it. The funny thing is, when I tried to go get it done through an offset publisher, they quoted me at $1,200. Now, I was paid pretty well, but not that good. And my wife was like, where are you going to get that $1,200 per se? Like, oh, well, where are you going to get that? And I'm like, about that. Can't we? No, she's like, no. And she's just straight up, it was a no. So I looked into other alternatives, and that's when I stumbled over this modern day self-publishing model, where I discovered, like, oh, you don't have to buy a pallet full of books in order to be a self-published author. I'm like, well, sign me up. And I got my first paycheck of $21 and some odd cents. And literally I said, I'm going to quit my day job, because I bet you if I focus on this full time, I'll be able to do it. And thankfully, my wife was already working from home in an Amazon FBA business. And I was kind of like her right-hand man. I'd help her out with a lot of that stuff in my free time. And so I said, well, we can probably do this. It's going to be risky. We're going to probably leave the safety of this nice, cushy job that takes care of me. And it sucked for the first couple of years, but because I was coachable, because I was flexible and willing to learn, I would say it was January 2016 that my business really took off.
Yeah. And now you write books about, I'm just going to share one. You write books about publishing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So here we go. Here's one of them.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. So, and I just want to point out, how many awards does the book have?
This one is, I'm thinking this was 18,000 to 20,000 words. So here's the actual physical copy. So this has actually won 5 book awards already.
That's it.
Yeah. So that one right there, that's only the first part of the series, the first part of the 3-part series. The second book ended up being closer to about 30,000 words. And the third book was about, again, 18,000 words, a little less than that, I think. And then I put it together in a compilation.
Yeah. So you have 3 books on Amazon publishing, and that one won 5 awards.
Yep. Second one won. Am I being too soon? I'm sorry.
No, that's
great. Being a horrible guest. So here's the funny thing is, actually, I just for the first time put them together in hardcover through Ingram Spark, and I got the proofs in the mail just yesterday. So you get to see some of them. So technically I have 5 publications out, because I did have Secrets of the Perma-Free Book, this was a 5,000 word manuscript. Right. 5,000 word, very short read. It's simple. It's easy to read through. I don't make any qualms with letting people know this is a short guide and something that will help people out. But that really turned out marvelously. Here is the second book in that series, The Promotional Strategies for Books. That was the one that was a little longer. This one has already won 4 book awards, and it's still a contender in a few other contests. And then my third book in the series, and I don't have the proof in for the hardback, so I'm going to show you the paperback here. This one has recently won 5 awards, and now the complete series is actually award nominated, 6 different nominations. Awesome. So crossing my fingers here. These are all award-winning books, so you would think this is going to be award-winning. So we will see how it kind of pans out in the coming months. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And this is great. These are the topics we want to talk about, right? Okay, so now you have all this experience. You can tell us, kind of what the mistakes were that you made along the way, or clients have made along the way, that you think that, we could fix up right here and now, so people don't make them, who are watching now live, or people who are watching on the replay. I tell you what, you've come to the right source here, because I've made a boatload of mistakes over the years. I continue to make mistakes. Ain't gonna lie to you. Like, anybody that will watch any of these big YouTubers flexing in front of their Range Rovers, or they're flexing their $20,000 paychecks and such like that, they're too afraid to kind of have mustard on their face. They're too afraid to be wrong. But funny thing about it is, it's not that you're wrong when you make mistakes. It's that you're human. You're human, and don't try to take that away. So never let anybody discourage you when you see someone that doesn't, like, they're perfect, they're on there. Well, of course, in that specific moment in time when they're shooting that video, they're gonna sure seem like they're perfect. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of work that goes into this business, and a lot of it includes a lot of trial and error and a lot of failures. And I'll tell you, it's going to be a lot. So I'm an open book. What would you like to hear?
Yeah. So let's start with mistakes. Let's start with Amazon, because you know Amazon really well. So what are some of the big mistakes that self-published authors make when they, you hear Amazon, it's the search engine, it's where to put your book. What are some of the big mistakes that authors make trying to use Amazon to publish their books?
So the biggest mistake overall, I see this across the board. You ever seen the movie Field of Dreams? And Kevin Costner in it, and you build it, they will come. Like, right. Yeah. He made the baseball field, and then people started coming, and it became a big popular thing and such. And it's a very heartwarming movie. Everybody should watch it. But here's the thing. Self-publishing is anything but the Field of Dreams. Yeah. You cannot publish and pray that they'll come. Sure, you can do that.
Yeah.
If you want to just publish for the sake of the craft, kudos to you. I think authors that write for the sake of writing are tremendous. But those of us that have bills to pay need to kind of figure out a way that this can work. Simply just finding a hot niche or the right keywords, it's not going to do you a lick of good if you don't at least get yourself more visible. See, here's the key to success. If you stop watching this video from this point on here, folks, which I hope you don't, stick around because we're going to have some good stuff here. Yeah. I want you to take this one thing. The key to success is going to be being flexible, being coachable, and being willing to have a little bit of mustard on your face and learn from your mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes, publishing and praying. You can't simply put something onto the market and expect it to work in the long term. Sure, maybe you find this profitable niche and maybe you make a few $100 in your first month, or maybe even a few $1,000, but it's not sustainable by just simply putting things out there. There used to be that day, folks. Back in 2010 to 2015, it was the wild Kindle gold rush. Everyone was publishing through Amazon KDP. They could put any hammered garbage out in the market and pull in thousands of dollars. You remember that day?
Yeah.
Now those days are gone. Why? Because Amazon is customer centered. They are very interested in the customer experience. And unfortunately, when people are putting hammered garbage out into the market, Amazon's going, well, we better tighten up this algorithm of ours. The algorithm is essentially like a complex mathematical formula that predicts how customers are going to react to things that are served to them. Yeah. So these days, they want to see consistent sales and someone who's driving traffic to their site and making even more sales. That's the most important thing. So please, if you take anything else from me, don't just publish it up and pray for the best. If you're doing it for the sake of the craft, kudos again. But if you're doing it because you're going to want to make a living, get ready. You're going to need to put on your big boy, your big girl britches, and you're going to have to get to work and get a little dirty.
Yeah. And I have a couple of follow-up questions from that. So one of the bits of advice that I constantly hear, authors come and tell me this, Melody, you have to do this for me. This is it. This is how you do it. And it's to put your book on Amazon, get all your friends and family to buy it all at the same time, get up to the number one, and then use that for sales forevermore. But what I see happening is you'll get up to number one, but then you'll drop and then you'll disappear. And people are like, but I paid someone to do this. I did all this. I did all that. And then I thought that, I was number one. It's like, why aren't people buying my book?
Don't you know who I am?
I was number one on Amazon for, the day. And so when you say consistent, that's not a consistent strategy. I'm not saying it's not a good strategy and it couldn't fit into things. So that's my question. Do you use that with your clients? Does it work? How do you follow up on that if it works?
Yep. So the methodology I use for this, I call the word for this methodology a hot shot. It's actually a word I use from the wrestling business. Anytime that a territory wanted to boost viewership and bring in more people, what they would do is they would do something completely crazy and off the charts that no one would want to miss. But you can only do this like once in a while, because otherwise people will be like, well, they're just fooling us into coming in here. So it's called hot shotting the territory. So I always call it hot shotting where you pretty much get friends, family, neighbors, email lists, supporters, followers. Everybody buys all at once because then it goes whoosh, pushes your book up to the top of the bestsellers list, and it feels great. You're like, oh, I'm a #1 best-selling author. It's fantastic. It's great. It's awesome. But the problem is, algorithmically speaking, it doesn't serve you any good. Amazon loves to see consistency. Every platform likes to see consistency. It's more important that you sell 2,000 books over the course of a month versus 2,000 books over the course of a day. Because what the algorithm notices is it goes, well, this is kind of an anomaly. That's weird. That's hot and trending, whatever. We'll push it a little bit, but it's that. But if you see the same amount of sales trickled out consistently over a time period, Amazon algorithm goes, this is a consistent performer. This means they're going to be here to stay. That means we should probably serve this up to more people. Oh, okay. So hot shotting is great. Let me give you a good example. I'm going to reach behind me, and I promise I won't turn around to reshelf it afterwards. A good friend of mine, he just launched this book, 100 live streaming and digital media predictions. Ross Brand. I love the guy. He's one of my best buds. And Ross, came to me, and he's just like, look, Dale, I want to be an Amazon bestseller. I was like, but he's like, I know what you're going to say. It means the world to me. I want to be a #1 bestseller on Amazon. I was like, okay. Sometimes you can't walk them, talk them out of it. Some people just want to be a #1 bestseller, even if that means selling 12 copies in some random category. That's great. It's a title that they want. So I said, cool. So I said to him, I just need you to do me a favor. You're going to do Hot Shot. You need to have a strategy after you're done doing the pump and dump. You're going to have to get it to where you're giving an email sequence, maybe reach out to some influencers, find some way to keep it to where it's consistent. Yeah, that bump in sales didn't do him any favors other than giving him the #1 bestseller title, but it did help that he had some way to get it to where the hockey stick leveled out and he was going like this. Now, he just texted me the other day, and he texts me on a regular basis, and he sends me screenshots that it's still holding strong. I think #1 in some category for his ebook. It dropped on print, unfortunately, but he is still very, very happy. He's a great example of what you should do if you're going to utilize the hot shot methodology. If you're going to use the hot shot, have a plan afterwards, because otherwise it's going to be a waste of time. It would be better that you just go ahead and tell a couple friends every day, hey, here's my book. It's available for $2.99 on Amazon. Next day, hey, so take those people and spread it out if you don't have many to speak of.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And use the boost to get in touch with other people who might be interested and say, hey, look, it's doing quite well. Maybe you'd like to connect with me and do a show or a podcast or a blog post or an interview or whatever that person does, right? And line 10 of those people up, one a week for 10 weeks and, keep going like that, right?
Yep. There's other ways you can be able to do it. Just think of ways that are outside the box thinking. I think it's very smart for you to land interviews, reach out to podcasters, reach out to YouTubers, see if you could do some guest blog posts. They have some blog tours. I've never done those before, but that's just another methodology that you can stay front of mind of people. Here's the most important thing when it comes to marketing your book. So let's demystify this process. Be visible. That's all it is. You just have to be visible. Just be visible in people's, front of mind. I hear some people, Melody, and I'm sure you might get some comments to some people like, I did an interview and I never got a single sale from it.
Right.
Here's the thing. And I think it's the law of like sales is that you have to have 6 or 7 points of contact before someone makes a purchasing decision.
Yes.
The same works. Okay. It's going to take a while. I've done dozens upon dozens upon dozens of appearances, and it all stacks up. And here's the nice thing is you are in someone's mental bandwidth once. Great. They'll kind of remember you. You get in twice. Oh, I've seen this guy before. I'm going to go ahead and watch him.
Yes.
The third time, oh, you know what? This guy's a clown. I don't know. And after like the 6th time, they're going to go, this dude's awesome. Going to go ahead and buy. Sometimes people buy sooner. They might connect with you and they might vibe with you, but it's going to take some time. Be visible as much as possible. That's the deal with marketing. I think a lot of people and authors especially are too busy churning away on their manuscript that they're just kind of like, okay, there we go, I'm done. Got to get out from behind the keyboard, or in this instance, be behind the keyboard, but in front of a camera, talking with people. If you're afraid to be on camera, get on audio podcasts. If you're afraid of being on audio podcasts and talking to people, get uncomfortable real quick. Fun fact, Melody, you probably wouldn't know this based on my nature. I am actually an introvert with slight extrovert tendencies. Right now, I am literally sweating my tail off, even though I've got a fan pointed directly at me, because it's my anxiety kind of shoots up. But I know it's a necessary evil in order to push my brand forward and push my books forward and really to try to succeed. So don't be afraid if you're an introvert. You're afraid to do things. The best thing to do is just take one step. And even if that step is imperfect, that's great. Again, mistakes, make them.
I like imperfection, right? Like, so my YouTube videos are edited and I tell my editor, leave in the FUB, leave in when I mess up, right? You know,
I saw what you were dropping there. I saw what you were dropping.
You know, mess it up, right? It's okay. I'm human. I mess up, and I want to be human, right? I don't want to be this perfect thing that comes across, because if you knew me in real life, you know that is so not true, right? So, and other big mistakes, maybe outside of Amazon, being visible is one big mistake. That not being visible is one big mistake. Like, get out there on social, podcast, interviews, get uncomfortable. That's really, really important. What are some other kind of big mistakes that self-publishing authors make that we can fix right here and now?
Yeah. So what I see often is some people think it's just one thing, one tiny thing that's going to change the world and make a world of a difference. Sure, there are some things that can make a difference. So keyword choices are going to make your book more discoverable. But if keywords don't sell your books, they just make it more discoverable. So if you've got a cover that's complete garbage and it looks like it's DIY, like your mom won't even hang it up on her fridge, she's so embarrassed by it, no one's going to buy it. I had some people come in, like, I did all the keywords things you said, and they'll send me a link to their book, and I'm going, where'd you get your book cover done? They're like, oh, I didn't get it done anywhere. I just went and did it on Canva. And I'm like, okay. I was like, so are you okay with no book sales? No, that's why I came to you for the keywords. Okay, well, your book cover's got to go. Like, I'm sorry to be that guy. Because here's the thing is, one finger's pointed forward, three's pointed back. And I love pulling this one out. You're going to have a good laugh here at my expense, Melody, because I know your first book did not look like this. This was my first ever book. This is the one that I went to the offset printer and I was so proud of it. I did it in Microsoft Word. Yes. Look at the picture is stretched in the background, and it was like a nice picture originally, but it looks like the font, and then like the what is this stroke on the outside? Like, what's going on? Like, and just it was horrible. And I'm fortunate I got the number of sales that I did. And the funny thing is, I'm sure the $21 probably primarily came from my family. Thanks, Mom. I always got to add that, because my mom's always just like, you jerk, why do you have to bring up my name every time? But all that to say this, that there's never any just one thing. So keywords could be right, makes it more discoverable. That's awesome. If your book covers trash, then no one's going to buy it. Let's just pretend like you have an excellent cover. You invested in it. It looks beautiful. Everybody's told you it's beautiful. Even unbiased and biased people alike are like, this is fantastic. They're like putting it up on their shoulders and parading it about in the streets because it's an amazing book cover. Now comes the part where the book description. The book description can make or break the decision of the buyer to get your book. There are some times, though, I'll tell you this. I used to be a kid. When I was a kid, I'd go, you remember when there were CDs and cassettes in the stores? Yeah. I would go and I would see like a heavy metal like cover, and I go, oh, that looks awesome. That looks awesome. I don't know who it is. And then, inevitably I would get, but those are rare exceptions to the rule. A lot of people will see the cover and go, I want to know what's it about. What's this about? So that book description needs to be really, really dialed in. You need to get it to where you can compel people to not only part ways with their hard-earned money, but also read the book. Read the book. That's the most important thing, right? Because you want to make fans of people that will come back or even trumpet how amazing that you are. And so that's just going to be the thing. There's so many like small things that you can see. It just adds up. And then last but not least, let's not just brush this off to the side. If you are writing content and not getting it professionally edited, or getting it where it's nice and tight and it's refined and the best voice that you can be able to provide to the world, don't matter. You could sell hundreds of those books, but guess what? You just eroded the trust that those people have invested in you, not only in their money, but the most important thing in the world, time, because it takes time to read your manuscript. And if it's all beat up, it'll probably take even longer amount of time. Get that content good. So whenever I see the biggest mistake is sometimes some people go to me, they go, hey, I did all the 10 categories on Amazon KDP. Why am I not selling books? I'm like, okay, what about your keywords? Okay, I'll get those. They come back. I got all my keywords going on. What's happening? And I'm like, I look at their book and I'm like, that cover's garbage, man. Yeah. And then, by the way, I never say that like bluntly to anybody. It's typically like your cover needs work. Yeah. So if anybody ever reaches out to me, don't think that I'm going to be mean to you. And then, most times I'll go through, and here's the part that's so tough when it comes to book covers and book descriptions is it's so subjective. It's all a matter of the eye of the beholder. I can tell people based on just my experience of seeing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of books and working with hundreds of authors, I could be able to kind of sense when something's a little bit off. And if I know the niche, I can definitely tell it's off. But it's going to be really, really tough. I would just say that if you ever need to get feedback, you need to step outside of your own inner circle and reach out to other authors that are unbiased and will be able to tell you your baby's ugly. And every now and then, it's going to hurt to hear that your baby's ugly, and you don't just want to put lipstick on the pig. You want to make sure that you clean this baby up and make it look good. So there's so many factors. There's never any one thing that's going to change your business. It's many things. There's so many ancillary portions of this business. And this is why I love obsessing about this business. It's so fascinating to me. And I tell people this on a regular basis. They're like, oh, I haven't checked out any of your videos lately. I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, don't be a weirdo. Sure, you can hang out with me. I love it. That's great. But honestly, you're an author. You should be writing. Let me obsess over the self-publishing stuff, because then I can tell you all of the things, the ancillary things, the keywords, the categories, the book covers, the book descriptions. How do you market and promote this? How do you actually sell more books? And how do you make a full-time living out of this? That's what I love to do.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are watching live and you have a question, drop it in the comments for us. Or if you have a comment, drop it in the comments for us. But I'm just going to say, so you were talking about it as a puzzle piece, right? So like it's a puzzle. It's not one piece, it's a puzzle. And so we have the book title. You didn't mention book title, but I do think that's important as well. Book title,
absolutely.
Book cover, book description, keywords, categories, like the high quality book. So these are all pieces of this puzzle. And when you miss a piece or you miss several pieces, it can really affect your sales, right? So it's not just, as you said earlier, it's not a field of dreams. It's not you write a book and they'll come. It's a putting all those pieces together, and your YouTube channel has all these pieces, right? I've been there. I've watched some videos, and I've noticed you talk about different videos about all these pieces, which is great. You talked about visibility. And I just want to ask you this question, because you've said visibility, and you also said authors need to write. Now, I hear this from authors. It's like, look, do you want me to write, or do you want me to sell, or do you want me to this, or do you want me to that? So, and lots of authors are like gophers, right? They go down and they write. I write the book. Now what do I do? So, question about visibility. How when people come to you and say, like, I'm writing a book, and before I publish it, how do I get visibility? What would you say to that?
If someone's brand new to the business, one of the things I really try to implore on them is think long-term. The immediate thing that a lot of people want to do is they're done with that manuscript and they want to publish it to the world. They don't care. Like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and publish it. But if you really want to set yourself up for long-term success, one of the things you're going to want to do is start to build an email list. Build an email list early. And you're going to go, how do I build an email list if I don't have a book, Dale? Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. So what I would recommend is try to focus on some type of like a short read of some sort. I mean, heck, Secrets of the Perma-Free Book, that took me 2 hours to sit down and write. Probably took me quite a few other hours to get it all refined and whatnot, but just kind of goes to show you, I sat down and I just did it. It's a great example of create something very short, but it is a great representation of who you are as an author, whether fiction or nonfiction. We're going to call this one a reader magnet. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So with this reader magnet, it's essentially like a way of enticing people. Well, sometimes people call it a bribe, if you will. You're going to make this available to the public, but under one condition: they need to part ways with their email. That's it. And you can be able to post this through social media. You can post this to your friends and family. You can also connect with other authors in the community that have related niches to yours that will be willing to collaborate with you in exchange for something, a quid pro quo, if you will. Because if you don't have an email list, obviously they're going to be like, I don't know if I want to work along with you, but maybe what's in it for them? What can you do for them? Maybe you be one of their beta readers. Maybe you help promote their stuff and do it on social media free of charge. Either way, get it to where you work with other authors within your niche. And this is going to happen even as you grow your email list. It's don't look at anybody in your niche. I'm going to tell everybody this right now. Don't look at anybody in your niche as being competition. Because if you look at them as competition, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have enemies. You're going to have people that don't like you. When you look at them as collaborators, guess what happens? It's something magical. Because when you lock arms with people, 1 is pretty good. 2 is even better. 3, 4, so on and so forth. When you work as a team, people accomplish so much more. And you often hear it in the self-help circles that the rising tide raises all boats. It's true. And sometimes it's just a case of finding those boats that align with yours, so that way you can lock arms and be able to get the results that you want to. Build the email list. And the next thing is, don't just build it and leave it set. I did consultations all this week. It was what I call goodwill consultations. Last time I did was about 2 years ago, and it was like I had 38 people that took me up on it. This week was 68 appointments. By the way, as soon as I'm done with this live, I've got to go right into another appointment. And in that, I always see that as a commonality, a huge problem that people have 600 email subscribers, 100 email subscribers. And I say, okay, so what's the open rate like? 40%. Know your numbers. But if you don't know your numbers and you can't be able to rattle them off to me, one thing I will say is, okay, so how often do you email them? I emailed them a year ago. What are you doing? Okay, I want you to think about this, like kind of like in the dating world. All right. Anybody that's single can probably, or has been single, could probably relate to this.
Yes.
You go to, let's say, the library or a bar, or your favorite pizza joint, and you see someone that's attractive and you're like, hey, what's up? Can I get your phone number? Do you just take that phone number and let it sit there and go, well, I'm going to go ahead and call her 1 year from now? No.
Yes.
Call them like as soon as possible. Don't be too needy, obviously. But all that to say this, you got an email list, talk to them.
Yeah.
Build a relationship with them. A lot of people go, well, I don't know what to talk about. Talk about that. It's just send out an email, just as simple as, you know what, I got this email list. I've got, or don't call it an email list. Nobody likes to be on a list. No. Last time I was on a list, it was my mom, and she was usually like getting ready to pull out the wooden spoon. You're on my list. And I'm like, you're going to call it like a reader's club. You can call it an email newsletter.
Yeah.
But any rate, get it to where you're communicating with them on a regular basis, because you stay front of mind. Don't personalize it if someone unsubscribes from your email. That's great. At least they didn't hit spam. The thing is they unsubscribe. They're just saying, I just need to get out of this conversation for right now. Right now in my life, it's probably not a good time. And they'll just deuce out. That's fine. It's the point that you really need to nurture this relationship and build your community. And, there's various ways you can help build that community. And one of the ways is just one email at a time. I recommend that if you have an email list, at least once per month. Least once per month. I truly believe you should go weekly, but your audience is going to know better than what I'm going to know, because your audience might only want to hear from you on a monthly basis. Maybe they want to hear from you on a daily basis. They're probably crazy. In that event, just try to get it to where you can continue this conversation. And one thing also, Melody, I want to kind of just talk about how email marketing works in this. This is your insurance policy, folks. It is your insurance policy because places like Amazon, places like Apple, Barnes & Noble, Drafted Digital, everywhere you've been able to publish have been known to terminate accounts. No reason necessary. They'll pull that plug and they'll kick you off. Guess what your insurance policy is? That email list, because you take your audience with you. I can tell you I would be crushed if I had one of my favorite authors that for whatever reason just disappeared, vanished, they're gone. Thanos click, boom. Thanos snap, I should have said. And you're like, what happened to my author? This is a true story. An acquaintance of mine, he was doing a romance publishing business, and it was exclusively on Amazon KDP. He was pulling in bank. When I say pulling in bank, like he was the exception to the rule. He was pulling in 6 figures per month with his romance publishing business. He was only publishing ebooks, no print books, no audiobooks, because his coach told him, like, no one buys audiobooks and print books for romance. I got to tell you, I used to work in the healthcare industry, and I had a library full of nothing but what they used to call smut books, romance books, nothing but those things. So to say no one buys romance books is egregiously wrong. So at any rate, he goes and he does all these ebooks. No email list. You see where there's a little bit of foreshadowing coming. One day, he goes to log in, couldn't get to his account. Reaches out to them. And they said, you've been terminated. They didn't give him a reason. Nothing at all. They didn't even give him his last paycheck. They were like, they withheld all his earnings and deuced out. They were like, we had enough of you. Goodbye. And it was a scary situation. His audience, he literally vanished overnight because as soon as ebooks are pulled off Amazon's platform, they're gone. Print books, at least you have third-party sellers and things like that. It was gone. His entire business went from $100,000 per month down to nothing.
Yeah.
So you can imagine. Yeah. And all he had to do was just something super, super simple. You could set up an email list as simple as like MailChimp, MailerLite. There's a bunch of like free like email services. So if money is stopping you, get the free services for now and at least get started. Because by the time you hit like 1,000 subscribers or 1,500 as the maximum that you can get at the free level, you'll be able to afford it, because with 1,000 subscribers, that's 1,000 different conversations you can have and 1,000 different opportunities and 1,000 different people inside your tribe and people that will be able to get your back if for some reason the rug's pulled out from underneath you. Now, I understand that this gentleman was an exception to the rule. Not many people are getting banned, but I don't want you to be that. And I think that one of the best ways to kind of control your destiny is get an email list and do it yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. I have a question for you. Alan Anderson is asking, you've mentioned fiction and nonfiction regarding visibility, etc. Does this all apply to poetry as well?
Yes. I'm going to put poetry kind of in the fiction, nonfiction realm. We're going to go ahead and include that in there. A great resource to go check out, Alan, is the Alliance of Independent Authors. Orna Ross is actually the founder of Ally, and she's a poet. And she's actually put out a number of poetries. In fact, she does poetry salons, I think once per month. Alan, do yourself a favor. Find her podcast. It is really good for poets. And she gives some very practical steps to getting yourself visible, because it is a little different to market your poetry books. Kind of like it's different to do memoirs. If nobody's never heard of you, it's going to be really, really tough to get yourself out there. Whereas with nonfiction, people got a problem, you got a solution. Fiction, people got a scratch, you're going to itch it with your entertaining way of suspending their disbelief. Poetry is a little bit more of a delicate dance. So highly recommend the Alliance of Independent Authors. Orna Ross is her name. Orna is a gem. Love her. She's a good friend.
Yeah. I will find that link and I will put it in the description for you, Alan. I always like to, and if there's a resource for Alan, next person watching this, who watches the replay, will want that resource as well. I will find it and I will put it in the description for you. All right. I have a question about reviews. Do authors make mistakes when trying to get reviews? Reviews are important.
Oh yeah. It's so tough because obviously you have to adhere to any terms of services and guidelines according to the platform. And I think we've already been hanging out at Amazon. So let's just go ahead and look at them as the gold standard at this point. And the biggest issue that I see, and I don't know why this still happens. Authors doing author review swaps. And author review swaps originally started out innocent enough that one author, let's say Melody, I would read your book, you read my book, and we're going to both post an honest review. And at one point, Amazon even allegedly had encouraged this. This was early on in the KDP days. The problem was you got some ne'er-do-wells, some bad actors who came into the fold, and they go, if one review's good, what if I got many at the same time? So then they started outsourcing that. They started hiring virtual assistants for pennies on the dollar, because they could. And they would have these essentially fake reviews being put onto their books. And eventually Amazon was like, okay, everyone out of the pool. We've had enough of your shenanigans. These are fake. We know it's fake. Why are you doing this? One of those type of situations. So they've really buckled it down. So the biggest mistake is doing any review swaps. There's a certain level of bias, as they call it. Even if like Melody and I have only met like once before in a video chat and such like that, they're going to consider it bias because we've already developed a relationship. We've already had a connection in some capacity. And the same could be said, even if you think Amazon can't discover it, they will. They have advanced technology and algorithms that will kind of go, wait a second, these two just posted the same thing and they just oh, we see it. And I speak from experience. Okay, buckle down here, folks. I did author review swaps. I started out, I read people's books. And some of them, oh Lord. There was, and I was honest about it because I was naive enough to believe that that's how the system had worked. I even it would sometimes, if someone had a 2-star or 1-star, I'd let them know ahead of time, like, hey, I'll publish a review, but I just want to let you know that there's X, Y, and Z wrong. And here's why. Do you want me to publish this? And they were like, no, I'd rather not. Thanks for looking out. And other times, some people, I actually had someone accost me for it. They were like, what are you talking about? Why are you reading it? Just post a 5-star review and make something up. And I'm like, I was like, I am appalled. And I'm like, but then there was this point early on in my career where I burnt through all of my savings. I burnt through all my credit cards. I burnt through every bit of money. And I was really, really, really concerned. And then you get into a sense of desperation. That is when it gets really bad. Never become desperate, folks. So that's when I started hiring out. And guess what happened? Back it up. It was June of 2015. I go to log in to my reviewer profile. I posted tons of reviews. I took pride in it. I think it was like the top 40,000 reviewers on the Amazon platform. And I was proud of it. I did all things from books to supplements to exercise gadgets and such like that. Gone. Every last one of them. And I reached out to them and they pretty much told me in a more delicate way. They said, we caught you. We know what you did. If you want to go ahead and pursue this, we will terminate your account. And I was like, okay, we're good. Yeah, it was lesson learned. And it really sucked. And I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I felt humiliated. In fact, for the longest time on my channel, I didn't want to share that story. And when I finally did, it resonated with people. They understood that when they heard my personal path, they were like, oh, I'm not doing that ever. There are some ways that you can get reviews that are above board. So there are platforms, and I'm not endorsing these when I say this, folks. There are platforms like puppy.co and getbooksreviewed.com where authors can go onto the platform and they put their book up for review. And you pay the platform for that. The platform doesn't give you the reviews. They don't promise you any reviews. But you read somebody else's book and you get points in order to get your book reviewed. Now, you're probably saying, but that's an author review swap. No, not really. Because what ends up happening is places like Pubby and Get Books Reviewed actually have a system in place to where if I review Melody's book, Melody then cannot touch my book. So there is no direct correlation. So it completely removes that review swap, feature. I'm sure there are some people out there that are gaming the system in some capacity. They might hire a virtual assistant, but guess what, folks? If you start doing that, you're going into desperation. You're just trying to chase after the dollar sign. And I'm going to tell you this right now, you will fail. You will fail, and you come back and prove me wrong later on. But I'll tell you this, you will get caught, and someone will definitely like ping you for that. So I'd say just don't bother with it. Those type of services are great if you have the discretionary time to sit down and read books. I don't. Back in the day, I could, but now I'm like, no, I don't have. I have a to be read list pile so stinking high. And when some people come like, here, read my book, I'm like, no, I still haven't read this autobiography by this pro wrestler that I really enjoy. And what about this other one? Like, so that's when it comes to reviews. Now, reviews, folks, take a deep breath. It's kind of like how I talked about keywords, book descriptions, and of course, as you mentioned, titles and all that stuff. Reviews are not be all end all. It's just another ancillary part to the business. It's another little key measure. But I would recommend that you make it at least a part of your business strategy that you try to gather reviews. And the best way to do the reviews is just ask. Just ask. You know, put it through your email list. Hey, look, you might have purchased this book. If you haven't purchased it, it's over at this link. And also do me a favor, leave an honest review when you get a moment. There's other ways you can do a call to action inside your book. You can do appearances on podcasts and talk about, hey, I got this 1-star review the other day and it's XYZ. Guess what's going to happen? People are going to go look at that 1-star review and go, this dude seems cool. No, this is not going to stand. I'm going to go ahead and leave a good review because I read the book and it was killer. So there's so many ways to do this. I did an entire book about it, you know, the Amazon reviews for books. And it has so many strategies that you can work with. Honestly, if you just pick one and then stick with it and stay consistent and get those reviews coming on a regular basis, great. Now, Melody, I know you're the host, but I'm just going to guide this just a little bit. Some people are going to probably say, how many reviews do I need to have, Dale? I heard so-and-so you said you have to have 50 reviews. Right. Shut up. That's what I have to say to those people is there is no proof. Amazon's never come out and said 50 reviews is going to do it. But I'm going to say, hot off the presses, I just got done actually today between some of the appointments. Amazon Advertising actually has a course now, 100% free. You can get certified in Amazon Advertising. You're damn straight. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So at any rate, I found out, believe it or not, they say it's best practices, and it's usually referring to sellers and vendors that are over through Amazon. Before you run any ads, it's a good idea to have at least 15 reviews. That's the only time I've ever seen. Literally, I found this out today that they, for the first time, actually addressed how many is suitable for ads. Now, that's if you're going to do ads. Now, if you're not doing ads, some is better than none. There was actually a case study done some time ago on some products, and I'm sorry to be anecdotal about this. I shared it inside the book and with the source and everything else, but they had 2 products, the same products, and one product page had 5 reviews. The other product page had 0 reviews. They found that 240% more sales were happening on the one with 5 reviews on it versus the one with none. So some is better than none, right? Yeah, 5 is great. If you can get 5, if you can get 3, get 3, right? If you can get 10, awesome. So that makes perfect sense. Yes. And by the way, but not by other review. Authors. Right. Yeah, you can do it other authors, but just not the review swap method. And don't review your own. I had a client one time and I full on cringed. I was like, bro, did you just review your own book? And he says, LOL. And I was like, I'm not laughing. That's sad. It's like liking your own Instagram posts all the time. I made a mistake. I'm on Goodreads one day and I'm just kind of kicking around. I've got my author profile on there and I saw one of my books and I'm just clicking around and I click on the stars and I'm like, oh, no. So I rated my own dang book. So folks, if you go to my Goodreads profile, and you see that I've ranked my own books. I swear to you, I'm not that narcissistic that I'm going and rating my own stinking books. Of course, they're 5 stars in my opinion. Well, maybe 4-star on a couple of them, but you get what I mean. Yeah, no, that's really awesome. All right, let's wrap this up. This has been incredibly awesome. Do you have like your last bit of advice for authors before we fully wrap this up? Never give up. Yeah. Never, ever give up. Always just keep pushing forward. You've got a unique voice. Nobody else is going to be able to share your vision, your creative power like you do. No one's going to be able to do the prose and the nonfiction as well as you do, or the fiction as well as you do, or kind of like what Alan is here, the poetry like you do. Don't hide this from the world. Get it out there, get it in front of more people, because you just never know the lives you're going to impact in such a meaningful and massive way that's going to create such a beautiful butterfly effect over the world. And right now, more than ever, in this weird world that we've been in since March of 2020 with the pandemic and lockdown, we need something. We need faith, we need hope, and you're the one who carries it. So never give up, folks.
Thank you, Dale. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. You've just like jam-packed lots of brilliant information. I really, really appreciate it. And if you are watching on the replay, you can still drop a comment or ask a question in the comments. It's always, always welcome. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Dale.